All right, good evening. We are on to our second meeting of the evening. This is the City Council regular meeting from April 13th, 2026. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Here.
Councilmember Hersey,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Bishop,
Here.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Here.
Councilmember Quisenberry,
Here.
Mayor Williams.
First item on our agenda is approval of minutes of previous meetings. I have March 9th, 2026 council meeting minutes and March 16th, 2026 committee of the whole public hearing meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Moved by Cherie, seconded by Grace. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Are there any additions this evening to the agenda? Looking at the staff. Nope. All right. Presentations and public input. We'll start with public input this evening. If you wish to speak to the council, please step up and state your name for the record. Does anybody have any emails that were requested to be read into the record? All right. With that, we'll move on to council input and communication. Okay. Reports of standing committees, there are none. Committee of the whole, I'll turn this over to Councilmember Sharice Hersey.
Okay. For council's approval on the consent agenda, we have 3 items. Resolution number 2026-04-013R, a resolution approving the transfer of volume cap in connection with Private Activity Bonding Authority, Private Bond Cap Allocation, EIEDA, Series 2026. Item B, resolution number 2026-04-014R, a resolution approving the transfer of volume cap in connection with Private Activity Bonding Authority, Private Bond Cap Allocation IHDA Series 2026. And item C, resolution number 2026-04-015R, a resolution approving the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium Annual Action Plan for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Thank you.
I'll second all 3 resolutions.
All right. Moved by Sharice and seconded by Chris. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Yes.
All right. All 3 items have passed. There are no items on the regular agenda. Thank you very much, Sharice, for your report. Reports of special committees. I don't believe there are any. Reports of officers. Get up on the agenda much quicker than last Monday. So please join us at the table. All right, good evening. I believe you're going to be giving us a report on Tactics SI grant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Want to go over a grant that we received some time ago, and we were just trying to identify how we would go about utilizing the grant. The grant is focused towards trauma. We identified a couple organizations that we work with and have been working with that we thought would fit nicely within this grant. My experience, as you all know, I like working with organizations that can help us reduce whatever our social ills that drive crime here in Urbana. So with that, I'm going to stop talking for now and going to give the entire presentation to Lieutenant McKinney.
Since you guys missed me, I figured I'd come back and talk to you again. How's that? Better? Okay. So the Tactic SI grant stands for the Total Access Collaborative for Trauma-Informed Care statewide initiative. This is a program that's kind of piloted and championed by University of Illinois Chicago and Park Forest, Illinois Police Department. We are receiving the grant, which is about $90,000 over 2 years, supporting the Urbana Police Department and community partners. It will support and implement trauma-informed, service-focused response. So it will strengthen coordination between police and community organizations, expand access to safety, healing, and support resources. And this grant is not tied to any other specific organizations or funding requirements, other than what I will go through later on in the PowerPoint. The mission of this grant is a safer, healthier Urbana, supported by coordinated trauma-informed partnerships, stronger community trust through collaboration and shared support, and continued training and support of trauma-informed practices. So the vision of this grant is to connect people with help, not just the criminal justice system, and to strengthen partnerships and expand access to those services across Urbana. So these are a highlight of the spending objectives over the grant spending, and the goal is that it will support trauma-informed responses and stronger coordinated service in Urbana. The funds must be spent on the Urbana Police Department, with the exception being we can also use it towards some of our community partners. 2/3 of the funding that we are using will go towards community partners assisting individuals and families impacted by trauma. The funding will strengthen coordination and evaluation and access to services, and 66% of these funds are going to be spent within our partner organizations that we work with. 33% of that will go towards DREAM. 11% will go towards Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center. 11% will go towards the Champaign County Children's Advocacy Center, and 11% towards Courage Connection of that 66%. I think you guys are all well aware now, but DREAM is an actionable partner of ours with data-driven impact aligned with prevention, relationship building, and long-term investment in youth and families in our community. Their ongoing consistent presence through collaboration with the College Prep After School Academy, mentoring, and enrichment programs have been a big part of Urbana PD's involvement with their organization lately. Additionally, their strong neighborhood engagement in Aspen Court through the HOPE program provides stability, resources, and trusted relationships. This strengthens meaningful connections within the youth and families around Urbana, and it builds long-term trust through shared goals, sustained involvement, and community-rooted collaboration. Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center supports youth and families through education, mentoring, and after-school programming. They build relationships in safe, supportive environment that encourages student access. And to those unfamiliar, Champaign County Children's Advocacy Center provides coordinated trauma-informed support for child victims and their families. And they strengthen collaboration between law enforcement, advocates, and service providers to reduce further trauma when children are victimized. Courage Connection is a long-standing community-based organization focused on survivors of domestic violence through collaborative response and safety planning. And they connect families to resources that promote healing, independence, and long-term stability. This is a breakdown of how we intend to use the budget. Again, the funding must follow the grant guidelines, including the money that has to be spent within the Urbana Police Department. $30,000 of it will go towards DREAM, which is roughly 33%, $10,000 towards Courage Connection, $10,000 towards UNCC, $10,000 towards CCAC, and $30,000 towards the Urbana Police Department. Of the $30,000 allocated to the Urbana Police Department, those funds will be highlighted to be used for training in trauma-informed practices and ongoing training, because we've already started some of that through this Tactic SI grant and some of their deliverables. Officer wellness, which is one of the pillars of the 21st Century Policing Report. It's a 6th pillar, And without that pillar, it's hard for our officers to meet their full potential and work at their top capacity. And so we really are excited to be able to focus and spend some money on that initiative as well. And it's approved use for staffing, coordination, infrastructure, and victim support. This is a little bit more in-depth onto what the breakdown would look like for our department. So $10,000 of that dedicated towards trauma-informed training and officer wellness for Urbana Police Department personnel. The goal would be to enhance the ability to recognize trauma, reduce harm, and improve community interactions, and support training hours, instructional resources, and related costs. There's a handful of examples on the side for each of those categories. Some of those things would be trauma-informed response training, de-escalation training, domestic violence awareness, cultural competency. Again, some of these are already state-mandated requirements that we already meet, and this is just kind of add-ons that we get to partake in because of this grant. The partnership development would be $10,000 that we would be spending dedicated towards strengthening community partnerships to improve coordination and collaboration with local organizations and enhance referral processes and service connections for residents. And some of those things would look like referral processes, cross-agency communication, and community resource coordination. And department infrastructure would be another $10,000, support implementation of trauma-informed practices and enhanced communication, coordination, and service linkage. Some examples of that would be systems upgrades, better crime data tracking and reporting, office furniture and workspace improvements, and things of that nature. And with that, I will turn it back over to you all, unless, Chief, you have anything else you'd like to mention, if you have any questions.
All right, questions? Riddell?
When it comes to distributing the funds, how do you go about selecting how much goes to each program, or what program you guys choose? How does that process work?
So, my experience, I'll start there. When I was looking to accept this job, I was on LinkedIn looking for partnerships, actionable partnerships, to help anchor what I envisioned being a community engagement team. And to my left, I saw this gentleman. At the time, I did not know him. And I said, well, he's a sergeant, and hopefully he'll continue to make rank. And he's someone I identified from a distance for leading a team if I was granted such an opportunity. Secondly, I saw Tracy Dace, who I did not know as well. And I saw that he was doing the things that I was accustomed to and trying to offset crime, particularly when folks, young people. So I introduced myself to Tracy. We started working together. If I'm being honest, he was the first organization to say, let's work together. Let's work together. Let's try to do some things that I think can work. And so he's, not him, but his organization has become our signature partner, actionable partner, not just meeting, things that we can do to positively impact the community, particularly our youth. There's no doubt they've gone through a lot of trauma in the last year and a half. I think, I don't know in terms of fatalities, but I know 5 of his youth dreamers have been shot. Then, as time went on, we started identifying other partners, i.e. Courage Connection, just based on the data that we have here. When we started having our crime meetings, the data suggested we need to be intimate with Courage Connection as well. And as time went on, we recognized through my team that worked with some of these other organizations that had already had these relationships in place. So my vision is working with folks that are open to working with PD. This is kind of a new concept in Central Illinois. And I want to be very, very sure that we stick to landing so that we can continue to grow. This isn't the last sum of money. These folks are always trying to give us money. So that's kind of how we identified based on our relationships, based on what I believe that we can measure, okay? Just don't want to give out money to give out money. I believe in measuring, okay? I think the next time around it's going to look different. Partnership, success, grant money is contagious. So that's kind of how we got to arrive where we are.
Okay. So do you guys have a, what's the word I want to use? Kind of just to keep track and, make sure that, the funds that are going to these programs are going towards the trauma situations, are going exactly to what it's going for?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay. And then if I could, there's one more question. So when it comes to training for UPD, what does that entail of? Is it just, PowerPoints, you have talks, speakers coming in, or how does that work?
Sure. So that could look like a host of different things. One, with this grant, one of the measurables and requirements is that we train annually in trauma-informed response. That was an hour-long course that was online that we took as an entire agency. Everyone that was sworn personnel was required to take it. We also have some state mandates that fit into that category as well. And then some of this funding will provide us the opportunity to either send people to courses externally that cost money or to do it at some of our other local training providers. And take classes, in-person classes, online classes, the whole gamut, basically.
If I could add to that, Councilman Jones, at first blush, when we tried to dole this grant out, I hadn't considered us. But the folks that were providing the grant, they mandated that, as Lieutenant McKinney said, that we addressed the mental health and wellness of our officers, so I yielded to their request.
Okay. Thank you.
Grace, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. This is an interesting opportunity. And then logistically, we still need to accept this grant and add it into the budget, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then to clarify on a previous question, it sounds like, just clarify, there was no open application for the community partners to receive these funds. Is that correct?
I'm not certain what you mean by open application.
Like with our city grants that we do, we post, we're open to receive applications for community service grants, for example, and it's publicized and people can apply. They fill out an application, there's a review team, there's selection, and then there's approval on who receives what amount of money.
That's correct.
Was there a public process where any organization could apply to be a part of this program?
There was no process. I'm certainly not against that, but I'm going to reframe my prior statement. I'm looking to measure, have actionable partners, and there are opportunities for folks to become partners with us as we were establishing a new culture of community relations. Those are the folks that said, we're willing to work with you.
Okay, but I think that what I'm hearing is that there was not a public open process for applications the way with other city grants.
Yes, you're correct.
And then I appreciate having those metrics of success, having measurements and reporting. I was wondering what those are, because that's also another important piece of, for example, the community service grants application, is we ask, how will you measure, what are your targets for this money, and how will you measure that success? And then we ask them to report back. So
I hear what you're saying, and I've seen the ARPA report as it relates to that.
I'm sorry, what report?
The ARPA funds report.
Sure, but this is in addition to that. There's
I
lots of
hear
things.
you, but I have yet to seen anything that measure success other than you did raw numbers. You had X amount of events, you had that many more. I'm looking for the reduction of trauma. That's what I'm measuring
And how are you measuring that?
through data.
If
If
you
we
could
have
share
le-
that
if-
data or some of those metrics, that would be great.
I post them every month.
So you're talking about just general crime statistics is what you're using?
I am the chief of police. That's what I'm measured of. Whether crime is up or down, and what is our relationship like with the community.
But as far as these organizations, you don't have measurements for what would be considered successful completion of utilizing these funds?
I can tell you what the grant folks want. They just want us to refer folks to trauma-related organizations and keep raw numbers. And we'll do that. But I think it should be a bit more. I don't have to do it, but I want to do more. I want to actually see a reduction in trauma. Are folks affected by trauma?
Yes, so I'll say I'm looking forward to seeing the actual grant agreement and any other information you can provide on how you will measure what successful completion of this grant would look like.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? No? No further questions? Yeah, I wanted to dig a little bit into what I just heard you say about metrics. So the ultimate goal, of course, is to reduce crime, which then therefore reduces trauma because we don't have as many people experiencing crime, right? And so I think that's what I heard you say would be the ultimate metric for you to be able to measure the impact of these programs. Is that correct?
That's something I chose to do on my own.
Sure.
Okay. It's not a requirement for the grant.
No, I understand.
Okay,
Yeah, it
yes,
sounds
and-
to me like the requirement is you have to say, we had X number of referrals to this organization.
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's just kind of raw counts.
That's correct.
And then is the grants department here in community development handling this particular grant? Because they are pretty used to gathering that kind of information, or is this something that's run out of the police department?
90% of it has been ran out of the police department. They haven't looked at it.
But will they be like, distributing money to these groups? I mean, that's what they usually do. They are the ones who kind of keep the metrics so that we know. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and yes.
They'll be a partner with you on that.
They will be the overseer of
Got it.
what goes to who, and how we are actually doling out the funds. We don't have the ability to do that.
I guess my next question, and this kind of builds a little bit on what Grace was talking about in some of the other grant processes. You gave us some examples of, what the police department's going to use the funds for and the different kinds of training. Do you have specific targets for the individual organizations?
As to what they're going to do with the grant, I can tell you, tactic. They don't really have a hard line on what they do with the grant, as long as it's trauma related. So.
Okay. So it sounds like it's the original slides that you were talking about what the goals of the grant were.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation, and we'll move on from here unless other people have questions. Nope, okay, thank you. All right, new business. We have no new business. Discussion, the surveillance ordinance. I'm going to put you on the spot, Darius. The surveillance ordinance, and perhaps Grace can chime in just in terms of like updates.
So you're just asking for a general update?
Yes, please.
Yes. So at this point for the surveillance ordinance, we will be at the point where you all as council would be deciding on any particular definitions, as well as the, I believe, the use of the Civilian Police Review Board or our HRC as far as their participation. We also at this point can take any questions if there was anything in regards to the presentations that were made by legal and PD from last week.
All right, does anybody have any questions from the presentation? Sharice?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to get that in my email, that presentation, if you can give it to me.
I'll send it to everyone.
Okay.
Chandra, I apologize. Did we still have the chief and Lieutenant McKenzie here if you had any questions about their presentation?
Thanks, Mary Alice. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any questions or comments about the surveillance ordinance?
Not at this time.
All right. Thank you. Other questions? I guess the big item here, this is discussion. Am I allowed to enter into discussion? Or do you want me to pass the chair?
I think you should just pass the chair.
All right. Chris, will you take the chair?
Taking the chair and giving Mary Alice, you have the floor.
Thank you. All right. So you listed three things, the definitions, the CPRB, and I didn't write down the third one. I apologize. HRC. HRC. Yeah. Okay. I would like to propose kind of as one of the next steps is for us to have the ordinance as it now stands, which I believe is 8 or 8.2. I can't remember exactly what version it is. And then we had some proposals for modifications to the language. So what I'd like to see is for us to just go vote it up and down in terms of whether or not we want to incorporate the modifications or if we want to keep the original. And so with that, I guess I would ask Darius, would it be possible for any of the departments within the city for us to have like a table that just says, here's the original and here's the suggested? I know when the police department did it, they already had things highlighted, so I don't think it'll be a lot of work.
Yes, we can provide that. And then also the other thing, we did a straw poll, but it will need to be an official vote on by you all as far as if it will be, the ordinance will cover the police or all citywide.
Okay, all right.
I
will take the chair back.
One more.
Sorry, I have a related city attorney question related to this next
I'm going to
discussion.
yield the chair to Mary Alice first.
All right, Matthew.
Just, this is not about like the substance of the ordinance, but Grace and I have discussed this as kind of a final step in terms of the formatting of it. When it's ultimately voted on as a package, as an ordinance, I think we need to format it as a city code revision and assign a number to it and structure it that way. That can be at this next discussion or later in the process. But if council desires that, I can have that ready this next time if that's part of what you'd like to.
It won't change the content. It's just kind of putting things in the correct format. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, I guess my druthers would be to wait until everything's finalized before you mess around with it.
Makes sense.
All right, any other discussion items about the ordinance? All right, with no further business. Oh, Grace, you caught me.
Sorry, it's just sometimes don't know how many cans of worms we want to open or not. I like the idea of having some of the suggestions all compiled. And I would ask that we hopefully have some time to review and consider that before taking a straw poll or vote on it. And I do think that, especially based on last week's, I see a lot of kind of melding and rewording and compromising rather than like one or the other of the suggestions. Like for example, if some things were already covered or already partially and we just add some of this language in there. So I think that there's a lot for that, of that kind of compromise. So I hope that we can find some of that. We'll work with Darius and other staff if we could have maybe another 2x2 to talk about some of those details on how some of the wording could be, mutually beneficial for what operations and transparency and oversight and all the different kinds of goals of things to accomplish here. So feeling good about being able to do that and appreciate the input so far from staff and council and community members. And again, hope that we have enough time to review those suggestions and hopefully have more meaningful discussions about how to find the right balance.
Darius?
So just for clarification on timing, if we are providing the, let's just call it side-by-side comparison for next week for discussion, and then also giving you all that full week to bring back some, I guess, final suggestions. So that would be looking at that 27th meeting compared to this next meeting, the 20th being more of a discussion to compare and kind of walk through that. Is that ideal?
It sounds to me like what you're suggesting is rather than us kind of studying, which is what I think Grace wanted us to have a little bit of time to digest, would be more of like a presentation of what that side-by-side looks like and what it means. So more of a presentation style rather than discussion, is that correct?
Well, I was going to leave it for discussion, but have that side by side for you by next Monday. The rest of the week, outside of today, I will be in Washington, so I don't know how soon I can get it. In case you all wanted to kind of prep it for final decision next week, I was hoping that next week we'll start that discussion and move in. But also, I want to take consideration for as many council members as possible. I do know there's a few out, so please, feel free to let me know that. Because at the end of the day, when you all come together for the final decision, as many as possible to be there for that decision.
Okay, anything else with our discussion item this evening? Going once? All right, with no further business before this council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.